What is the worst thing you could do before your parents snitch you out to the American government? This is actually something I've thought about before, and I think part of me thinks there's nothing I could do that my dad would actually snitch on me for. And let me explain, it's not because he is not a deeply moral man, but the reason I think he might not ever snitch me out is because of a love for me. I think my dad loves me so much that he would never want to see me in a situation where I'd have to go to jail or something like that. Like, I don't think he'd try to convince myself that I didn't do anything wrong. Like, if I straight up went to him and I'm like, yeah, I did this thing, I don't think he'd spend his days being like, no, you didn't. I think he would know what I did and still not snitch me out. Now, in the situation where I come up to him and I tell him I did this thing, but I am repentant about it, I think he has a case there where he could say, oh, my son feels really bad about this. Maybe he's a different person, you know, I'm not gonna snitch him out. And I don't think most people, but I think a lot more people would be okay with a father taking the side of their son there. But imagine I came up to him and I was like, no, dad, you know, I did this thing, but I don't really think I did anything wrong. Or, you know, I know it's wrong, but I don't really care. Now, if my dad in that situation still took my side, I think most of us would be like, that is irresponsible. But again, in either of these situations, even in the bad one, I still partly believe my dad would never snitch me out. Like, I'm not a father, but I imagine that's how much a father loves his son. And the reason I believe this is because I think God the Father in the Bible does something very similar. I think the whole Jesus story about him dying on a cross is actually God living out the story and the situation that I just mentioned. There's a famous sermon, you can find it on YouTube. It's called Jesus Loving Barabbas. And I'm not going to try to recite the whole sermon, but it's a story about how Jesus is on death row. And because it's a Jewish holiday, Pilate can actually release a prisoner. And so it comes down to Jesus and this man named Barabbas. And Barabbas, he might not know anything about Jesus. It just says he was an insurrectionist, which means he could have been very violent. Worst case, he was a murderer. Best case, he was inciting riots. And this man, who may or may not even know Jesus, who may or may not even know God, he ends up being the one released. And Jesus is the one sentenced to death. And if you look at this story, it's actually a story of God protecting one of his children. What I mean by this is a father can hide a guilty son all they want, but it is not just. I don't think it is objectively the moral right thing to do. Because if that son has done something that bad, the son must live with the consequences of it. But what the father can do to protect the son and protect justice is take the punishment on behalf of his son. And that's what Jesus does. Because Jesus is God the Father's son, but Jesus is also God. This means God gets off his throne, he takes the punishment of death on the cross, and in doing so, his wrath is satisfied, the punishment is served, and Barabbas gets to walk away free. That's the story of salvation. That's the story of grace, right? That all of us have lived severely wrong lives, and we deserve punishment and consequence for it. But God the Father loves us so much. He takes on just punishment so that I can walk away free. Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about the love of a father these past couple days.